Hey, what's poppin' fellas, it's Mav, and today I just wanted to make a quick video answering some of your guys' questions, as well as giving a quick update as to what my plans are for YouTube and Twitch. I will be dropping some of my future projects for this channel at the end, so stay tuned for that. Now before I answer these questions you guys submitted, I just wanted to say that this channel has surpassed 200 subscribers. It is quickly on the road to reaching 300. You guys are honestly amazing, and I hope that you all enjoy this Q&A. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's get started, shall we? Question 1 is from Any Draws, and it says, if you can make any changes to a character from a game you played, who would it be? Great question, and to be honest, this is an incredibly difficult question to answer because there are just so many different characters and games to choose from. But after careful consideration and looking at the abundant options, my answer is going to be a shocker to no one, as this particular character bothers me more than any other option combined. My answer to you has to be Elise from Sonic 06.
Oh no.
But Mav, it's better just to get her out of the game because she sucks at.
And honestly, I'd rather he'd be wiped from existence too. But if Elise had to be in the game, I would personally do multiple things. Step 1, change her from being a zoophilic human being to an actual animal, like the rest of the characters, to make it less grotesque. Nah, get that shit away! Second, make her a playable character and not just a literal embodiment of a damsel in distress. I think that would be pretty cool. Flipping Iblis was inside of her body. It was half of Solaris. The same being that Sonic, Shadow, and Silver fought in their super forms. She could have had powers, and her purpose in the story could have also been something half decent, but then again, this game was trash, so, you know, it's too bad for its own good. And she never came back for a reason. But, man, I could go on for hours about this game, and Elise is just scratching the surface. I mean, what isn't wrong with Elise? Let's be real here. Anyway, before I rant, let's move on. Question 2 is from Sir Arthur, and his question is, what is the best Halo game, or which Capcom zombie game is better, Resident Evil or Dead Rising? Now, I can't answer the second question as I'm literally playing a Resident Evil game for the first time as we speak, but I'll get back to you on that. But as you all know, I love Dead Rising, especially 1, 2, and Off the Record. As for the first question though, well, this is entirely subjective as every game has their strengths and weaknesses, but if I had to pick a Halo game, I'd have to pick Halo 3. Surprise, surprise. Before I get into why, I should explain why I wouldn't pick the other games very briefly. Halo 1, for example, has severe gun balancing issues, such as the Magnum pistol being overpowered, the vehicles being very janky, and you literally cannot get touched by a single vehicle at 1 mile per hour, or else you will just drop dead. There is also the infamous library mission in the campaign, and much of the gameplay is dated, although a classic and amazing in its own right. For a game that came out in 2001, it was the greatest shooter out there, and it paved the way for the first-person shooter genre period. I go as far as saying that Halo Combat Evolved has the best balance of difficulty and fairness. Many of its good qualities still hold up. This game was what started the franchise, and it deserves respect because of how large and dynamic it was at the time. As for Halo 2, well, let's see, a ridiculously difficult legendary campaign with balancing issues, those damn sniper jackals, odd level design choices that make the game even more unforgiving, weird gameplay design choices such as removing the assault rifle, and doing less damage when meleeing enemies, which is kind of weird, but none of these issues are really that big of a deal. I mean, you could just play on an easier difficulty. In all honesty, Halo 2 feels like a rough version of Halo 3, and also a mixture of Halo 3 and Halo 1. But at the same time, this game had a fantastic multiplayer, and it fixed a lot of issues with the first game, as well as introducing the Arbiter. Moving on to Halo Wars, it just wasn't for me. I'm not a fan of the gameplay, but I know and acknowledge that it's a good game. As for Halo 4 and 5, well, that's self-explanatory, and Halo Infinite was an unfinished, neglected mess as well, in my opinion, so that leaves us with Halo Reach and Halo 3 ODST. Halo Reach was a fantastic game, and it's definitely unique with many of its features. I would say Halo Reach was a very fun game to play with friends, but it still felt a little bit below Halo 3 overall, in my personal opinion. But it was still amazing in its own right, and was the last amazing Bungie Halo game. Oh yeah, I also forgot about Spartan Strike and Spartan Assault when writing this script, but it's an alright mobile game. Still, it obviously does not compare to the main entries. Lastly, before I talk about Halo 3, let's talk about Halo 3 ODST. ODST took what was amazing in Halo 3 and made a unique campaign, and also invented Firefight, which is basically Halo's version of survival. This game also had a great campaign, but it was pretty much just a game that branched off of Halo 3 with no multiplayer. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard me praise Halo 3 time and time again, and with good reason I might add. From the outstanding campaign that shows off various environments and intense large-scale battles between Covenant, Flood, and UNSC. I mean, it's got the battle with 2 Scarabs, an improved Warthog run from Halo 1, a flying section, huge beautiful areas to explore, and perfected vehicles as well as weapons. I feel that Bungie took all of what made Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 amazing and just put them together. Not only that, but Halo 3 introduced Forge and custom games, as well as further perfecting an already amazing multiplayer that was in Halo 2 with its matchmaking options. It hasn't aged a whole lot, and while a fully fledged faithful remaster of this game would be amazing, it's great the way it is. Halo was truly at its peak during this game's prime. No game is perfect, but Halo 3 is f***ing close.
Oh yeah!
It did just about everything right, and I wouldn't want to have this game any other way. Moving on to the third question, it comes from Wolfgang, and he asks, will you ever play any of the Shovel Knight games or Sly Cooper or Gravity Rush, because that game is great and I believe more people should play it. Now, I don't want to be that guy, but I would like to consider myself flexible for the most part when it comes to games, as I've got just about every genre under my belt. I've heard wonderful things about all 3 of these games that you've mentioned. If I ever do decide to play any of these games, I'd most likely go with Sly Cooper first, as I love platformers. And I often see this game can compare it to Jak and Daxter, but all 3 seem very interesting. I'll be sure to add them into my never-ending list of games I gotta get to. Sly Cooper in particular looks really fun. I'm a huge fan of Jak and Daxter, and it looks somewhat similar to that, so I'll check it out. I appreciate the recommendation, man. Question 4 comes from SL Gaming, and he asks, what is your current goal for Twitch and YouTube? Honestly, right now I'm just trying to work on content whenever I get the chance. If I can get around the same amount of followers on Twitch as I do on YouTube, that would be a wonderful start to building up these channels of mine. My channel has had a lot more activity than it ever has, and while I got a lot going on in my personal life, it's my goal to make time for YouTube and Twitch. Maybe I could start streaming more during the week depending on my schedule, but as for YouTube, it's to simply improve upon my weaknesses so that I could bring you all better videos. I feel that there's a ton of room for improvement in terms of quality since I'm still kind of getting used to editing videos. Besides, even if only one of you takes the time to watch my content, it makes those long hours of editing worth it. Right now, I'm just writing down as many ideas as I can for content, so really the best thing for my YouTube and Twitch would be new ideas for videos as well as people to collaborate with. Fellas, if there's anything in specific you want me to cover, leave it down in the comments section. And if any of you ever want to make a collab with me, leave it down below, and I'll be sure to reach out to you. I'm excited for the foreseeable future. Moving on. The next question is from an anonymous viewer of mine, and he asks, what do you think of the changes made to Call of Duty from the original Modern Warfare to now? Well, this will be another really long answer, and I want to briefly break down how I feel about the lifespan of Call of Duty, as well as its unpredictable track record. To start things off, I just want to say that every single Call of Duty, from the first one all the way up until Black Ops 2, was all of great quality. Games like World at War, Black Ops 1, and Modern Warfare 2 were all fantastic, and these games were universally praised. I would say Infinity War and Treyarch both made amazing titles, but I can't help but feel that even these beloved classics could have been better. For example, World at War in particular is starting to become seriously dated due to many of the issues they had. And the same can honestly be said about the original Modern Warfare. But honestly, I'm not hoping for the new Modern Warfare games to be better than the originals, rather just have these games present some sort of quality compared to some of the other modern games we've had during these past few years. But moving on from the 7th to the 8th generation of consoles and onward, Call of Duty introduced some highly controversial titles. Now look, if any of you disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. Don't raise any pitchforks, and please, if you want to share any of your opinions, keep it civil down in the comment section. But right after Black Ops 2 came Call of Duty Ghosts, as you know. Now bear with me for a minute. Was the game trash? No, it was an okay game, but that's the issue. It was just okay. Suffering a similar conundrum to Halo, judging these inferior titles outside of their franchises as something standalone, they're alright games. But when comparing these games to their franchise's library, many consider these games to be an insult to what these older installments have accomplished in their time. But I feel that once gaming's 8th generation came to fruition, the quality of these games took a huge nosedive, which is why the new Modern Warfare games are catching me off guard with their positive reception and larger player bases. But let's get back to that. Call of Duty's third developing company, Sledgehammer Games, made its debut with Modern Warfare 3. A great game that introduced survival, as well as playing much more like the older Modern Warfare games. And then they took a fat dump all over the Call of Duty franchise with Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty World War II, and Call of Duty Vanguard. But it's for that reason that I have not been playing Call of Duty at all, aside from the classics. I've just been way too skeptical, and I feel like there are way better games that I could be playing. Then again, maybe the new Modern Warfare games are really good. I've heard good things about them, and I've also played Warzone a couple of times. I had fun, but yeah, it seems that the devs are headed in the right direction with the new Modern Warfare games, so I'm happy for that. But as I said earlier, I think the developers should spend more time on their games. Like maybe the next Call of Duty installment could take 3 or 4 years, and when it comes out, it's a massive masterpiece, accompanied by a new engine unlike any. They clearly were successful with the new Modern Warfare games, so I think serious dedication to their next installment can top them off. But all in all, I don't think I've really played these games enough to judge them, so I'll leave that opinion to you guys. Thank you for the question, and let's move on. The next question is from Taro the Insane, and he asks, should we do a co-op playthrough on Dead Rising 2 off the record? Absolutely, the fuck? This game is peak Dead Rising, and I will say if we go through with this, we should level up our save files to make saving survivors more bearable. To tell you the truth, I've never actually created an off-stream Let's Play for this channel, so it'll definitely be something different. All I can say is message me and tell me what days you're free so we can dedicate time to it. But after doing the Let's Play, maybe we can screw around in sandbox mode too. Moving on. Next question. Dark asks, what is the worst game mechanic you've seen? My goodness, with a question like that, you're gonna give me Nom flashbacks, bro. There are so many I could think of off the top of my head, like Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance's drop meter, Sonic Freeriders' Connect system, as well as reverse social links in Persona 3. But I will say that one mechanic is universally seen in a plethora of games that takes the cake over all of them, and that is escort missions. Hold it! Why, you might ask? Well, let's take a few examples of games that have escort missions in them. In Halo Combat Evolved, during the mission Truth and Reconciliation, Master Chief has to escort Captain Keyes to a Covenant dropship in order to finish the mission. His health sucks ass, and he could die if an enemy decided to even breathe on him too hard. Not convinced? How about the entire survivor rescue system in Dead Rising? What about in Jak 2, when you have to escort 3 NPCs to a certain location while keeping their microscopic health bars from decreasing? There are also escort missions in Ghost Recon Wildlands, which make me want to bang my head on a wall. Anyway, I would say that there are plenty of terrible game mechanics I could think of, but escort missions seem to have a bad taste in my mouth almost every single time. Next question. Marshmallow asks, what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monster? Well, to be honest, this is a hard question to answer. I mean, there's the iconic Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician, Jinzo, and Summoned Skull, just to name a few. Now, I don't watch much anime, so I've only seen the original Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've seen some cool ones. I also don't play the card game because I suck at it, but if I had to pick, I'd probably choose Red Eyes Black Dragon. Not because of the monster itself, but because of Joey Wheeler. It's Joey Wheeler's signature monster. Joey Wheeler has got to be one of my favorite characters in anime. Who doesn't love an underdog character that defeats all the odds? This guy was competing with someone richer than Bruce Wayne and his best friend that had an Egyptian spirit around his neck and a grandfather that owned a card shop. Joey was your average Joe. And Red Eyes Black Dragon is also less powerful than Dark Magician or Blue Eyes, but it also has a really cool design nonetheless. People don't really acknowledge this card as much as some of the other well-known cards, but anyway, I gotta go with Red Eyes. Our next question is from Skyless, and he asks, what do you think about Carlito from Dead Rising 1? That's actually a pretty interesting question. I think Carlito has a really cool design, and his voice actor suits the character very well. As for how he's written in Dead Rising, well, I've seen better and I've seen worse, but he's definitely a badass. Carlito is also a monumental character that helps Isabella and Frank's character arcs, but him stand alone though? I think Carlito's purpose was to fuel other characters' development. All Carlito needed to be a perfect character was a bit more screen time, and maybe a cutscene or two showing his past life with his sister or something along those lines. That would be really touching. I'd truly enjoy seeing something like that. Seeing things from Carlito's perspective would create a nice twist in the overarching plot, but considering Dead Rising's story, style, I think the writers intended to only have Carlito on screen for certain parts of the game. All in all, I think he's cool, but definitely not my favorite. Next question. Just Fen asks, What's a game you'd never play regardless of how much others wanted you to play it? Oh, that's an easy one. League of Legends. The community for that game is immeasurably cringe. The game itself seems way too grindy for my taste, and the style of gameplay definitely looks like it's not for me. After playing immense amounts of Ark Survival Evolved and other grindy multiplayer games, I'm starting to shift my interest to single player games, or games that aren't overly competitive. In conclusion though, it's definitely not for me, but there are other games that I wouldn't play, like Bubsy 3D or M&M Racing. I think I'd rather play big rigs than those games, personally. If you like League of Legends though, that's wonderful and peachy and all, but it's just not for me. Our last question is another from Taro the Insane. He asks, would you rather play Dead Island 2 or Dying Light 2? Well, I have played Dead Island 1 before, and I had a decent amount of fun with it, but if I had to pick between the two, I would definitely go with Dying Light first. I've seen a little bit, but I've heard about the fact that it has parkour and zombies, which really fascinates me. I'm a huge fan of Mirror's Edge, as you know, and it seems like a pretty unique game, but I think I'll eventually be playing both of these games. And on that note, that's pretty much all of the questions I have received. Man, looking back at my first Q&A that's a year and a half old as of posting this video, I've made some serious improvements. I actually cringe at the sight of most of my old content. But before I close things off, I just want to say that I've been working on a couple of videos. One being on Castle Miner Z, which is an old Minecraft knockoff that sold over 2 million copies, as well as a review of the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I also want to say that I will eventually get the Final Fantasy as well, so do look forward to when I finally battle Emerald Weapon again, guys. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by and leaving your questions. If you want your question featured in the next Q&A, leave it down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. And also check out my Twitch as I stream on most weekends. And with that out of the way, I will catch you all next time. Peace out, fellas.